name that is now officially Pushing the Pace podcast with Sam and Elias. I really like it. I think it comes off correct.
Yes.
No one else has used it yet. We're original like that.
Watching Julius Randle is one of the hardest things. Like, I feel maybe I need to get paid. I feel every NBA fan that watched the Wolves, you deserve some type of reparations for watching Julius Randle play.
They lost to the Pelicans. They lost to Orlando, the Indiana, Milwaukee, Phoenix, Golden State, Sacramento. They're done. Their season is done. There is absolutely no salvaging this at the point. 15 and 26.
The thing about this current NBA is if your perimeter defense is compromised, like if you have no resistance on the perimeter, like if you can't stop a cone on the perimeter, your big guys are going to suffer.
And it's really just like their internal development of all their players. Like, I think everyone has just gotten a lot better. I'm super impressed with guys like Amen Thompson. I love Amen Thompson, bro. Athletic monster. And has just improved offensively. His three-point shot is still not really there, but defensively he's insane, and offensively he pushes them in transition and can do a little bit of playmaking as well. I think Paul George might have been the last of them that gets like $50 million a year.
He's lucky.
He's lucky because we're not like we're waking up, but we're seeing the full ramifications of the second apron and how tight that is. Like, you cannot have so many max contracts.
But the one thing about the NBA that never surprises me, you are going to find a team that convinced themselves to do this. Hello and welcome to our podcast, Pushing the Pace, with Elias and myself. Elias, what have we been doing for the past 10 minutes?
We've been figuring out this name, brainstorming, racking our minds to come up with this wonderful name that is now officially Pushing the Pace podcast with Sam and Elias. I really like it. I think it comes off correct.
Yes.
No one else has used it yet. We're original like that. So I feel good about it.
I feel great about it. This is one of the hardest things we've ever done since we started recording together.
I haven't done anything like this before in my life.
So I'm kind of actually happy that we have this on ground and stuff. Having my name as the podcast and posting was kind of weird because I know it was two people doing stuff. So it kind of helps now when we have separate stuff and all. And Elias still has his basketball therapy. And when I have my time, I would still be on my Samuel Lufemi podcast. But we're going to have our YouTube and everything different for this and all. Today we are going back on the NBA, and because this is a basketball podcast, strictly NBA basketball talk. I know the Ravens just lost, so how do you feel, my man?
Here's the thing, I'm not like the most diehard NFL fan because I've been watching it only like the past 2 years really close, but I chose the Ravens as my team. I also kind of like the Bills as well, but the Ravens, I'm more pushing for them. And that was just a heartbreaking loss. Like, Mark Andrews, bro, he caught that. There's literally a picture of him in one angle where it's like a perfect catch. And he was falling into the end zone. He just couldn't hold on to it, which is so crazy. But that touchdown right before was great. Bills deserve it, I guess. Ravens just had too many mistakes. Lamar had that terrible interception. I don't know who he was throwing to. Then there was that that missed snap that just went back and he fumbled and lost the ball and all that. Ravens made mistakes, and Bills played a bit conservatively, especially at the end there when they could have went for it on fourth down and could score a touchdown and won. They kicked the field goal, and it didn't bite them back because the Ravens could have only tied if they made the 2-point conversion. But against the Chiefs, I don't think the Bills can be that conservative. They gotta go for it in situations like that. And 4th and 1, giving it to Josh Allen, I don't know. I feel good about that. So, Bills played a good game. It was a fun game. I'm very excited for next week. I pray to God the Chiefs lose, and I think it would be very fun if the Commanders win for their fans. But I really don't know for that game, to be honest. Eagles are a good team too.
I'm kind of rooting for the Commanders only because my favorite basketball analyst, Tim Legler, is a Washington Commanders fan. So I know that's going to make him so happy, even though I don't know him and everything. But
Yeah.
that would be nice for his commanders to do. I would say so. Obviously, I'm not the biggest football guy. Uh, I've seen football up close, being maybe on a collegiate level. Like I've been on the sidelines for multiple
Mm.
games because I was working in my university. And I think my biggest issue was with watching it and seeing it up close for like the whole duration of these games was I just felt less enticed by the athletic show being put off. Obviously, when the wide receiver has this crazy runs and stuff like that, shit is incredible. I've seen some incredible shit and stuff. But it's like just from the sports that I've just gravitated to, like they're like these athletic phenomenons that compared to football, I just don't find it that incredible. Obviously, it's probably because I have less knowledge about it and I understand. But this is my thing. Today being today just being ending on the fact that a dude couldn't just catch that feels so insane in my like you know what I'm saying? Like that
Yeah.
feels like one of like I'm obviously it's not easy. Pressure, fans, a lot of things are happening. And trust me, if any of us are being put on pressure and they say, oh, catch this, before you know, you're like, if they say $1 million on the line for me to catch this and throw it, before you know, I may start fumbling and start juggling and I lose it,
Yeah.
right?
Literally.
Because the pressure is being put on. So I understand that. But compared to it just feels like that little moment for just a guy to catch the ball and it being the reason why this team didn't go to overtime just feels less athletically pleasing to me. That's the word compared to other sports that I watch. And I think that's probably my disengagement with
Mm.
football. I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
That's an interesting perspective. I just think I'm just like in shock that he didn't catch that. Like watching it live, it looked like he caught it, and then you see the ball just fall out as he's falling in. And I get what you mean. Like making a pass seems like the most easy thing in all sports. You make a pass. Obviously in football, that's like the whole thing. And you also got to account for the fact that it was like really cold over there and everything. The
True.
ball must be really hard to catch and stuff. But that was just a heartbreaking miss. And then he also had the other play when he got the ball knocked out. That was terrible too.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just the all the memes for Mark
Oh my
Andrews and
goodness. Twitter is
everything.
going insane right now. Like anyone that wants to go see, go check Mark Andrews on Twitter right now. It's yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
pretty much insane how
everyone crashing out,
they're
everybody. Oh man,
going Okay. So today on our basketball recap, we are doing check-in with teams. So pretty much at the end of this, me and Elias have three teams each, and our pretty much is just talk about their season so far, and pretty much give them a grade at the end. And we just have different talking points about these teams and give them a grade at the end of whatever way we say. And Elias is also going to give a grade for his teams. And yeah, Elias, do you want to kick us off?
yeah, for sure. I
Sorry,
wanna
sorry. Let's go back to that. Elias, do you want to kick us off? I keep fucking
for
up your
sure.
name. I'm going to correct that. Elias,
No
you
worries,
want to
no
kick us
worries.
off? So yeah, kick us off, bro.
All right, for my first team, the way that this podcast has gone, we had a couple episodes when the season started, and then we took a little bit of a break, and now we're back. But the funny thing is I want to talk about a team that we've already talked a bunch about before the season. At the very beginning of the season, they were doing kind of rough, didn't have a good start, and now I want to give them their first and hopefully final check-in because I don't expect anything different from this team going on. The Philadelphia 76ers have had a season from hell, a disastrous season, if you will. When they were hyped up by a lot of people, including myself, I thought that the acquisition of Paul George was just a great fit. Contract was a little big, but Joel, when he was healthy last year, MVP, Tyrese Maxey still plays great. And then you start off the season and injuries, over injuries. To this At this point, Paul George has only played 27 games, averaging about 17 points. Efficiency not that great. He's had a lot of bad games. Joel Embiid only has played 13 games this season. We literally talked in our very first pod, I believe, about how much like obviously the potential of this team, but how much are they going to play together as their big three? We saw that from almost the very beginning of the season. It was Tyrese Maxey fighting for his life out there, shooting so much because nobody else on the team was going to do it.
Yeah.
And then Joel came back, and his injuries has just been, he's out for an ankle. I don't even check at this point what he's out for, because just like, it is what it is. He was out for an ankle for 10 days. Then it got reports that he was like, practicing whatever. Now he got knee swelling again. And now he's going to be reevaluated in another 10, 12 days. But reevaluation for him, it doesn't mean he's going to come back at the end of the day.
I don't think I've watched the Joel Embiid game this season. I actually don't think I've watched a Joel Embiid game this season.
It's been very rare because he has not played a bunch. And when he did play, he started off a bit rough. But he had at least a few games that were pretty decent, at least a couple 30-point games. But man, his body is just cooked right now. And like last season in the playoffs, he was playing on one leg. His knee was like constantly bleeding while he was playing. He had the whole, what's it called? Cerebral palsy. I don't know if it's that, but half of his face was not moving. That's insane. And then he also plays in the Olympics. Basically doesn't take a break for summer. And now he hasn't had any time to fully recover, and this season has just been play injured. Obviously, that sucks. Paul George as well. The contract that we have for Paul George is $200 million for 4 years, and his first year is not looking good.
This is what I want to say about. This is what I want to say. Not to interrupt you. This is what I want to say about Paul George, right? The idea of Paul George fits. It fits Philly. Yeah. The idea of what Paul George is, like if you could paint the Mona Lisa, but that is just not the player you currently have. I still felt it was fine acquiring him, but for that money, that was ridiculous, man. PG's getting a max at this point is completely ridiculous. Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah, because his max money is really a lot for his age and everything. And his play has just not been super impressive. Obviously, like we said, the potential of a plug and play scorer who can create his own, shots instead of a Tobias Harris. You got Paul George. Everyone's like, of course, that's going to work great. He hasn't been that much better than Tobias Harris ever was in Philadelphia for 4 years at this point. Tyrese Maxey, like I said, was fighting for his life. He's had some better games when Paul George and Joel did play, obviously because he wasn't the main focal point. Yeah. But they're just like, now the whole team is injured like crazy. They had guys today playing like Ricky Council, Jeff Dowden. This guy, I don't even know his name. Adem Bona. I've never heard of him, but he played 10 points a day. Another guy, Pete Nance. This guy has a Cavaliers jersey on in this picture. And then another guy, Justin Edwards. And they just have Lowry out, Joel out, PG out, Drummond out, Yabusele, which was a great pickup for them. He's played great, and I think if they were healthy, he would be like a perfect four-man. He can shoot threes and just plays hard defense.
He's injured now.
He's
right?
injured. Yeah, he's injured. Caleb Martin, hypothetically that could work great. Jared McCain, their rookie, their hope for most of this season. Injured for the rest of the year. He's out.
Listen, man. There's a Nigerian thing that everyone says, man. This is a specific Nigerian thing. When things happen like this to you, you need to go find who is someone in the village. I don't know which village it is. Maybe Embiid's village in Cameroon. Maybe Yabusele's village. Someone is doing something. At this point, we need to figure out who is not living life right in the city of Philadelphia. Within one of those players, someone is not living life right. Because it doesn't make sense. It absolutely doesn't make sense. Before it was just, let's worry about Embiid, right? Now it's like the whole team is being axed. Completely axed and stuff.
Yeah. And like the Sixers they had like a couple games. I don't know when it was, but they were winning a few games. They had a 3-game win streak over here. But now they're at the point when they've lost 6 in a row. Jesus. They've lost, what is this? 7, 8, 9. 9 of the last 11, I believe they've lost. They beat Brooklyn. Hurrah.
Oh my goodness.
Brooklyn is throwing randoms out there. They also beat Washington. Those are the last 2 wins that they have.
Jesus
They
Christ.
lost to the Pelicans. They lost to Orlando, the Indiana, Milwaukee, Phoenix, Golden State, Sacramento. They're done. Their season is done. There is absolutely no salvaging this at the point. 15-26. And yeah, they're only 1 win better than the Nets. So they're really in that range where, I mean, the Bulls are only 3 games above them. So, you can always look to that.
You know what I found out? They have a top 6 protected pick.
Yeah.
Guess who gets that?
OKC. I saw that too.
Oh my god.
OKC is insane, man.
Oh my, I'm like, this is insane. Oh
Yeah.
man.
But I mean, for Philly, like you got nothing. You have absolutely nothing to play for at this point. Just throw Joel Embiid, let him live remote, fully heal your mind, body, and spirit.
He's already coming late
Go
for
on
practices
a treat.
and all, so
Yeah, Paul George. I don't know what you do with
Play-
Paul George.
hey man, for Paul George, you just have to, like, we pay you too much you have to play. Do your
He has to play.
Do your
Yeah.
9 to 5. Do your 9 to
He
5.
has to play.
and
He
go
has to
back
play.
up.
Joel, I'll give Joel the year off. They got to punt this year. They got to hope next year they can come back. And Joel actually healthy. Tyrese, Paul George, Jared McCain, Kelly Oubre, Eric Gordon, Yabusele. If he comes back, he might not. He might play himself into a real contract with another team. There is still those 4 guys. Those 4 guys, if they're healthy, that team is actually kind of, interesting and scary. But again, it's health. And this season is just a wash. And at this point, like I said, we talked about them at the start of the season. We're talking about them now. I don't think we're going to have anything to talk about them for the rest of the year. So I just wanted to bring them up and give them their certified F stamp for this season, because I don't know. This was a team, man, championship aspirations, finals, conference finals appearance at least for Joel Embiid. These memes will go on for another year minimum about him not making the conference finals. We got the Commanders making their conference finals the first time in 32 years before Joel Embiid, man. It's sad, but the memes are always funny.
I feel that grade is fair enough. The grade is fair enough. Like, literally, like, man, it's championship aspirations. This season is another season of Joel Embiid getting older, Paul George getting older, which leaves Maxey in trouble too, because again, an older Paul George just keeps being a less version of himself. Like, it's just he doesn't create enough space.
Yeah.
It's
his push-off move.
His push-up moves, the dribbles. No one is biting that.
Yeah.
A lot of tough shots. Like, if he's having just a great day, it's a lot of tough shots making, and that is not sustainable come playoff time. And we've seen it why in the old days. So Philly, I think F is deserved for them.
Yeah, and one more thing. At this point, they need that top 6 pick. They need some young talent like a Jared McCain, who they obviously hit on with like the 23rd or something pick, which was a great pick.
Yeah,
they need somebody in the top 6 who's going to come in. I don't know who it is, but I heard another podcast say they need to bridge the gap.
But why you forgetting? They don't get the player. They don't get the player. It's going to OKC.
No, only if they don't make it top 6.
Oh.
Yeah. It's top 6 protected. So they need to be in the top 6, which means they need to keep losing games like they have been, even if they're trying or not. Because if it's 7th, 8th, whatever, if it's lower or, lower number than, not lower 1 to 6, but, the other way around, then it's OKC's pick, I'm pretty sure. So,
wait. So what you're saying is, if the draft happens and the positioning is in the top 6, it goes
Philadelphia.
to OKC.
No, if it's in the top 6, Philadelphia keeps their pick. That's why it's top 6 protected.
Oh, if it doesn't.
If it doesn't, if it drops out, then it's OKC. So now you're looking. It was like when your Mavericks, but when they got Derek Lively, they were like kind of tanking on purpose because they wanted to keep their pick.
Yeah.
Same thing, pretty much. And I think that's the only thing that Philadelphia has to look forward to at this point, because halfway through the season, you're not making it back.
Go to the power room and go figure out what rookie is going to really, really help you. because
Yeah.
you already have a good team. Like even if Paul George doesn't work, McCain being as good as he is already,
Yeah.
if you can get another wing, a wing, not a guard, a wing that
Hmm.
is really really good, that will really help you. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
that's the like we started off terrible. Maybe there's some sunshine for them if they think, but I just think
Yeah.
I think hey man, if next season goes the way if next season isn't successful for them, an Embiid trade is coming. A Joel Embiid trade is
Maybe.
coming.
Maybe. Paul George definitely. But
No
no
one is
one's gonna,
taking him.
yeah, exactly.
No one is taking that contract. No one is taking that contract. Okay. I'm going to move to my team. Again, this is another team we've spoken about a lot about. I was watching them yesterday, so I was like, okay, it makes sense. Outside of my two main teams, this is one team that I've actually watched a lot this season, and that is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Defensive rating. They picked up their defense fifth, which is pretty good, great, one of the best defenses in the league. Offensive rating 21st. Now, let me tell you who is 22nd to the bottom. Los Angeles Clippers. They've not had Kawhi for so long. The Pelicans, we know why. Washington, Portland, Philly, Charlotte, Brooklyn. You get the message. If
Yeah.
you are in this group, you are technically in this group of bottom tier offensive teams.
Yep.
And I've been watching them all year, and obviously you cannot. There's certain things that you can just see with your eyes that you can't really put some stats in. But you watch them within games, and it feels within the second to third quarter they want to quit. Like they want to, like it feels like internal. It's like I feel something is gonna happen this season where like it's already happened sometimes with Ants. The statements Ants have made after some games they've lost and stuff. But you watch within those games where they go like 20 points down, or even when they're not even 20 points down, the other team is just outplaying them, and everything seems like a struggle, especially if it's not Ants getting it, and it's another 3-point shot Ants is playing, is hitting and stuff. And it just seems like the vibe of this team is just not good. And it doesn't mean they hate each other. It just means like play wise, it just doesn't work. Like it's not just flowing. There's no type of flow. There's no flow when you watch the Wolves play. There's just no. Maybe you see a 2-minute spurt. Maybe you see a 3-minute spurt. Maybe Nazrid comes in and he because Nazrid gets the crowd going and stuff like that and stuff. And I feel looking back at it, we spoke about this last pod. One of their biggest acquisitions they needed to make was getting another point guard. Because the fact that you guys can't run any type of offense or any type of like sensible type of creating plays for your team without Mike Conley is pathetic. Like he's too old to have those responsibilities. And I think a lot of us give him the criticism of, oh, he's not figuring out the playmaking thing. Ant is a shooting guard. Like he's a scorer, even from when he's not like this point guard. Like if he was a point guard, then maybe the criticism makes sense. But Ant is a scorer. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. Even though I feel he needs to balance the threes with going to the rim more, which we've spoken about before. But Ant is a point. It's just not working. The Randall field doesn't look good because for some reason they want to give Julius Randle the ball to initiate play. He's a good playmaker, but as we said last podcast, watching Julius Randle is one of the hardest things. Like, I feel maybe I need to get paid. I feel every NBA fan that watched the Wolves, you deserve some type of reparations for watching Julius Randle play. It's a tough watch. I know. And one of the things that has really happened with them is Jaden McDaniels' growth has stifled. It's like he's hit this plateau, and I just watch them, and there's no game I really feel like, man, Jaden McDaniels like really show like I don't know what game I've seen this season where he's been like looking like this is a young player that can take another leap. Defensively, he also doesn't give me that same the past 2-3 seasons where he was this incredible like difficult defender. This season, I'm not saying he's bad. It's just he's not impactful. That impact is no longer there. So for this team, it just looks like every time I watch them, no flow, no sort of bond with the team where you're just like, man, you watch them and so many times it looks like they're about to quit. within games. And sometimes because of Ant is not the type of character that is going to quit. So he comes back and he tries to bring them back in games. But a lot of like yesterday from like the end of the third quarter to the start of the fourth quarter, the Cleveland just blew them out. Like teams were just going like runs against them, like 26-2 run, like those type of runs against them and stuff. And they tried to battle at them, but we already knew the game was over, pretty much, right? So yeah, for the Minnesota Timberwolves, you guys are Western Conference Finals. A lot of hope, a lot of hands, lot of expectations and all. And we know losing Cats is a big deal, but that's a decision the franchise made because they wanted to save money and put themselves in a better position financially. So everyone gets blame. But I'm giving them a D minus. This has not been a good season. And a good context of this, let me give you a good context of this. Minnesota currently is 8 in the West, 22-20. The Dallas Mavericks are 23-19. And how many injuries? How long have those guys played with Spencer Dinwiddie and Najee Marshall at point guard? Like the Mavs were doing so well and had like this good record. And obviously we lost like 18-11 and stuff like that. But Minnesota has been held pretty much. You have full health, and all that time you've not even been able to go over a Mavs team who are literally leaking everywhere. Derek Lively injured. Jaden Hardy just got injured. Luka has been missing. They've been missing their MVP for so long. Kyrie has been injured with like the fact that you guys could not even get over them, right? Like,
Yeah.
like it's insane. So yeah, a D minus for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah. I mean, no, you're absolutely correct. D minus is pretty harsh, but going from Western Conference Finals, like first time since 2004, and now you're a team that just doesn't look good most nights. Like they're in the same position as they were the first year when they got Rudy Gobert and Cat. Like their fit was just awkward.
Yeah.
But now like you could at least see Cat shooting threes. It makes more sense. Randall and Gobert just don't really make sense. I feel like they're not utilizing Randall well enough, but he's also just not. He just hasn't been that good this season. Mike Conley's decline has been like off a cliff. Like Jaden McDaniels as well has not improved much as you would have hoped offensively. And then like a guy like Dante, who you also got in that trade, has struggled for most of the year until like recently he's been playing a bit better.
He's really playing well
for sure. But yeah, you're just putting everything on the back of Anthony Edwards, and to his credit, we've talked about his threes at the start of the season. He has held on to his 3-point. How many he's shooting? His percentage is still one of the best in the leagues in terms of high volume. It's like Steph. I don't even know if Steph Curry's up there right now at this point.
He's leading the league in threes.
Okay, he's still
leading.
He's still leading. Yeah.
I'm still leading the league in threes. Yeah.
So it's not even like, if anything, he's doing what you would hope he can do with a team with such negative spacing, and it still isn't enough. On most nights, like there was that one game, I don't remember who it was against, but he basically scored half of his team's points, and they tried to make a comeback and they couldn't do it. I think, like you said yesterday against the Cavaliers, he had at least 35 or something, or he had like 30-ish, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking of another game, but it's just not enough. Other guys aren't contributing enough. Their offense, last year, I believe their offense was a bit more manageable. It was at least like 15th or above in offense, if I remember.
Yeah, yeah, they were middle of the park. Actually, they were. I think they were 21st last year.
Really?
Which is fun. I'm going to go check, or 18th. But I knew their offense wasn't good last year. I'm going to go check right now.
But their defense was definitely like basically
first or second. Yeah.
Yeah, first or second with Boston last year. So they had that going for them. And then, the way that I understand the Randall move now is purely like money wise, because they didn't feel comfortable keeping Cat because their flexibility for the next 2 years would be like basically zero. And with Randall, I think he has a player option next year, or maybe not.
I don't think he has. I don't think he has a player option, but that's something that I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So if he doesn't, then this is his last year of his contract. And I've seen people say, like, now you're opening up space to really pair somebody else with Ant, and then you get like Dante as like a guy hopefully you can keep and has played decent. And in that terms, I understand it, but man, just going from the Western Conference Finals to just making that decision in one off season after the most success your franchise has really had in 20 years, that's just a tough one to take for Minnesota. And from that perspective, I don't disagree with a D minus, like you said. Like that's just a tough move to make.
Yeah. So for context, I believe let me see this. I actually want to see this. For context, the Washington Wizards had a better offensive rating than I think. Yeah, what I'm looking, I'm not able to like do the standings right now for some reason on Basketball Reference, but Washington Wizards scored 113.7 points last season. Minnesota scored 113. So this has been a bad offense. It's just been a bad offense, even with Cat and stuff. And I think it's going to even be worse without Cat. Like this team, if a playoff series is going to be very, very like they have to win on defense. Like win on defense so much.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much they can in the playoffs. Like I really think it's even going to look worse in the playoffs.
Yeah. Right now, I don't know exactly who their matchup would be in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's too early. Too early.
But I wouldn't. I don't know if I would pick them in a first round series unless it's like a really good matchup. I don't even know who that could be, but
maybe against a Houston, a young team that's
Yeah, that's the only thing. But like even Houston plays defense. We're gonna mention Houston a little bit, but they play defense as good as anybody else in the league.
Yeah.
So that series would definitely key in on Ant and say Rudy Gobert dunk the ball 15 times, win like that.
Yeah. Like play one on one. Play like I remember the Mavs legend told Rudy Gobert to do whatever the fuck he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And we just left that guy out. We're like, man, if you want to score 50 points. Rudy Gobert, score 50 points if you want.
Make every dunk. Make him do a layup. Oh, that one turnaround. I think it was against
Denver?
OKC.
Against Denver?
It was against Denver, right? That one was amazing. If Rudy could do that every day,
that broke my freaking heart, man. Yeah, Jesus Christ,
that was the funniest thing ever.
Okay, so you're next.
Okay, I mentioned them a little bit already, but the next thing I want to talk about is the Houston Rockets, who I think have been super impressive this year. Currently, their standings, let me just check to be 100% sure, but they have been up in the Western Conference standings for most of the year. They are second. No one's really close to OKC. They're 6.5 games behind OKC, but 28-13 for a Rockets team that I believe ended 10th or something like that last year in a play-in team. And, I expected them to be better, but I still gave the edge to like a Mavericks or a Nuggets or whatever. I didn't expect them to be second. I did not expect them to be basically the second best defense in the league behind OKC. I didn't really expect that at all. And it's really just like their internal development of all their players. Like, I think everyone has just gotten a lot better. I'm super impressed with guys like Amen Thompson. I love Amen Thompson, bro. Athletic monster. And has just improved offensively. His three-point shot is still not really there, but, defensively he's insane, and offensively he pushes them in transition and can do a little bit of playmaking as well. And then you got a guy like Tari Eason, who has been out for a little bit, but him and Amen came off the bench and were like a defensive dynasty out there. Like, they were just locking people up. The third best offensive field goal percentage for other teams shooting on them, and they're first in rebounds this year. And their offense isn't even that bad. Like, Sengun hasn't had like the biggest leap that I expected. I thought that he would probably turn out to be their best player. He's only averaging 19, 10, and 5, which is still great, but I was expecting a bit more. But I mean, it's a real team effort out there with Jalen Green, who every month, I believe, from November to December and now 2025, he's been really good. I don't know exactly what his stats are, but he had 26 a day ago, 28, 34,
He's been on a
27, 29,
tear.
33, 27,
He's been on a
22.
tear.
That's all this year. If and he's done this before. He did this last year in March and like the end of the season where he was just like lighting it up, and he's doing it again. How long is this going to be sustained? Nobody really knows. You know,
No,
this is the cycle. If Jalen Green can be like this for the rest of the season, then man, that's great for the Rockets. And then you got guys like Dylan Brooks, who's still really decent offensively and defensively, of course. Fred offensively, isn't there all the time, but he's still a stable
he
point
kills them
guard.
sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And then Steven Adams has come back. Cam Whitmore, coming off the bench, has had a few good games. Overall,
Not skiller.
like, everybody has just improved on their team, and because they haven't really made any big acquisitions. And this is what you hope for a team like the Rockets, who just drafted a bunch of guys. They have a bunch of young talent. And last season, they didn't give huge contracts to Jalen Green or to Şengün, which I think was good because they need to
Which is
pay
good.
Amen and Tari, and they still have Fred. He'll be off the books soon, but I'm just been super impressed. I didn't expect them to be the second best defense in the league, not at all. But they just attack and pressure the ball so much, and I'm just super impressed with them. And I mean, if I had to give them a grade, it would be an A. Like they're gonna make their first playoff series since the James Harden era, and I think
Facts.
the one criticism you can give for them is like in the playoffs is obviously going to be different. Their defense, I think, is still going to hold up, but who is going to be their number one player? Is Jalen Green going to show out in the playoffs and play like he's been playing recently? Is Şengün going to have to, hold it down for them? I'm just curious to see them in the playoffs. I don't know how many teams I would pick over or like I would pick them to win over because of their inexperience and everything. But I wouldn't be surprised if they win a first round series this year, to be honest, just because of how good their defense is, which is going to translate in the playoffs. And everyone has just improved, and I'm just very impressed with them.
I am so impressed with them. As we said, last season they had a leap last season too. Like there was a point in the season where people thought they were going to go over Golden State into the play-in. We expected them to have a good season like this, but not this good. Like not this good where like when they play teams at the end of the game, you're just like, okay, yeah, they deserve to win. This is not a team like they deserve to win. They defend on a incredible level. And this is the Email Docker school of just this is a typical Email Docker team. Typical Email Docker team. Athletic, strong-willed, very, very focused guys and all. They have the fourth best record in the NBA currently, 28 and 13. Like fourth best record. I love Şengün. Jalen Green is picking it up. Like it's more, can he be this player? Can he be this terror? Because athletically, man, when that dude drives into the lane, he can yam on anyone, like on anyone, and he's picking it up. The shots, like to be honest, I won't say the shot selection has changed. He's just making them.
Yeah,
He's really
yeah,
just making them on a high clip and everything. And I think the growth for him is just getting into the lane, and making decisions of that, getting into the lane, making decisions of that. And bro, they don't quit. Like it doesn't matter if the team if they're 20 points behind. It's like the same OKC thing too. If they're 20 points behind, like their defense always gives them a chance. And I think this is one thing about the regular season. The regular season is so long and so boring sometimes, and so it weighs on teams. Teams have injuries. So many different things happen. But if you have a good defensive team, if you are a top 5, top 10 defense, you will get NBA regular season wins. You are going to get NBA regular season wins. And that's one of their biggest formula. And I think come playoff time, there's TBD questions for them because I think they have what I consider, I don't know if you've seen it, fake shooters. Like shooters that when that light is that bright,
yeah.
come playoff time when teams say, Jalen Green, pass the ball. We want you to pass the ball. are these guys going to be able to hit enough shots? And I think that's going to be the question for them. I
No.
think Şengün is incredible. I think that dude is, bro. Maybe it's because I also see him against them. He cooks the Mavs every single time. Like Derek, I love Derek Lively so much. And that guy is going to have such a great career. But every time he sees Şengün, it's a cook session. Gafford, he abuses Gafford. Like he abuses a lot of centers in this league and all. And maybe his scoring total isn't up, but every time I just feel good about how Şengün plays and all and stuff. And I like the diversity in skill sets between him and Jalen Green,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
stuff. So I feel, you know what's so funny? My grade I gave Houston Rockets were one of the teams I had to. And since we're talking about them now, it's just better. My grade for them was also A too. Like literally, I wrote down on my
Nice.
iPad. My grade for them was A. So yeah, man, I just think they have ridiculous athletes in Jalen Green, in Amin Thompson, in Tyree Eason. Like this is going to be a very, very hard team to beat. I just feel offensively, when teams sit down during those back 2 days a week, 2 days per game and stuff, they are going
Yeah.
to have issues scoring the ball. And that's going to be, and Jalen Green, we're going to see if this type of shots, because I really believe this is not like it's not sustainable in terms of maybe he can still average 25 and stuff, but when you come to the playoffs and it's 25 points on 30 shots, teams will live with that, right, and stuff like that. So I think the question is going to be what happens to them in the playoffs. But I think again, even if they lose in the first round, it's going to be still a great season for them.
Yeah.
And it's more what moves that they're going to make in the offseason, and we're going to just have to see what they do from there.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And just to add on, like defensively, people say this all the time about making like a culture within a team, and I get that, but like from an outsider's perspective, it's like, oh, this team has a defensive culture. This team, it feels like a bunch of nothing. But like defensive culture, how I understand it, is like everyone's here to play. And a lot of defense is just like effort. Like obviously there's skills and instincts and length and all that, but it's a lot of effort and trusting your guys, and you just trust and you have good camaraderie and belief in your teammates to help defend on every single possession. And the Rockets, as a young team, having that, second in defensive rating with a Jalen Green, with a Şengün. These guys, we're not looking at them as defense like positive defenders, more like negative defenders, especially Şengün, who, as a center, you really need that rim protection. He hasn't really been that bad either. And that just goes to show like how good Tari, how good Amen, how good Dylan Brooks, all these guys are around them that help, instill that culture and make a Jalen Green or a Şengün try a little bit harder, or, sometimes they get cooked, but they trust and believe in their teammates to help them. And I'm just super impressed with how they've been playing this year.
And that's the thing, when you have a team like that, right? If you are not the top echelon player, you can't come into the freaking game and not play defense. Like you're going to get exposed easily, and Emil Doker is going to sit you down. Like that's not a guy to mess with. Like that's the culture he's building, and we're going to see how they handle the playoff atmosphere and everything. Because hey, when it comes playoff time, it's different, and we see the guys that want it, and we see the guys that are able to handle it. And sometimes you may fail, which is fine. A lot of the greats have failed in the playoffs and stuff, and it doesn't mean they don't have some future of being great and stuff like that. It just means you have to answer the call, and we're gonna see. Okay, for my team, so this is going to be my last team because Houston Rockets were one of my teams too. It's the Cavaliers, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Honestly, 13th in defense. I think second in offense or first. No, first in offense, I believe. Are they first? No, Memphis is first in offense, I believe. And Cleveland Cavaliers are second in offense. Let me just confirm that. I think I checked that.
Yeah, they're second in points per game, second in field goal percentage, first in 3-point percentage.
Yes.
And fifth in assists. Yeah.
So yeah, the Cleveland Cavaliers are really, really good. Really, really good. I would say something. I'm not surprised. I'm actually not surprised. And maybe their record is beefed up a lot, right? Like maybe I'm not saying I expected 34-6 or 35-6. I don't know what it is right now.
35, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't expect that, right? But one of the things that was very underrated was I remember when the Bucks fired before the Bucks hired Adrian Griffin, and even after they fired him, I have tweets on my Twitter. I was like, I wanted Kenny Atkinson. Like I kept mentioning, I thought, like, I think people forget how well he did with the Nets. Like, look at that Nets team that he brought up and stuff, and how the joy, the vibe, the way they played, the bench players, the role players. Like, I was like, this coach gives me, and they played well too. They played the right way, and I was like, I wanted the Bucks to sign that. Apparently, Giannis, my superstar, didn't want that, which I'm still pissed about that with him and stuff, right? Uh, but Kenny Atkinson doesn't surprise me of how good he is. I really thought this guy has been a good coach, and I'm not surprised with his success and all. And one of the biggest things for me with the Cavs this season that I've really loved was Garland having a bounce back season. And I remember last season he took so much heat, and we would find out that I think he lost a family member, he broke his jaw. Like it was a terrible season for him overall. But I was like, people were talking on his game like this dude can play. I'm like, Darius Garland is an incredible basketball player. Hooper. Like any single thing he can do on the offensive end of the court, any single thing, the floaters, the 3-point shots, he's quick, he's fast, he's a good playmaker. Oh, very good playmaker also. He ensuates his bigs in Jarrett Allen, in Mobley, and stuff like that. Mobley also was someone that people started talking about differently last season. And I'm like, this dude is just 20. And like, why are we not giving him time to fulfill all, like he's so young and has so much potential. And I think a lot of times people are like, oh, he can't shoot the 3-point shot. I'm like, that's too simplistic of when you're describing a player like this, right? Mobley was someone like defensively, I was like, this dude is awesome. And he was going to have to figure out that offensive part of his game, which he has and which is getting better. And I think one of the good things you can see in his progression now is he's handling the ball more. He's facilitating offense. Sometimes against OKC, there were times where 5 seconds left or 7 seconds left, they're giving it to Mobley and he's driving to the rim and stuff like that. So he's made such a big season and stuff. And their bench, I didn't watch a lot of Cavs at the start of the season. But one of the things I always knew, like, obviously, you check the stats and you see some games because Cavs games are like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. over here. Sometimes I'm not ready for NBA basketball yet at that time and stuff. And I don't catch those early games. Or maybe they clash with one of my other teams and I want to watch. But every single time I see the Cavs game, I go to the box score and there's always this dude. I'm like, why does he have 4 out of 6 shots? Why does he have 6 out of 7 shots? Who is this guy that has 15 points in 12 minutes? Ty Jerome. I have no clue where this guy came from. Can someone tell me where Ty Jerome is from? Where is this dude from? Yeah. Like yesterday, came in 22 minutes against Timberwolves, 5 out of 7, 2 out of 2, 3-point shooting, 15 points, floaters, 3-point shooting. He's a good playmaker. I'm like, where did they get this dude from? And stuff like this is their bench. Judge Niang, Strus, Sam Merrill, who has actually taken a down season because last season this dude would come into the team and drop 3-point shots, but for some reason he's not been good this season. So they have 3 guys they trust on their bench: Niang, Tyus Jerome, and Strus, who are great 3-point shooters and all. And Jerome being a good playmaker for them and stuff. And I just feel they may win 70 games at this point. Like the East they are going to beat up on a lot of Eastern teams. Like they're going to beat up on a lot of Eastern teams. And Donovan Mitchell has not had to have like this crazy 30 points scoring year, right? And all. And I just feel I'm giving all credit to Kenny Atkinson. I think this has just been a masterclass of a job to him. But one of the things I would say, and I've given a lot of superlatives and power and amazing credit to them. I feel come playoff time, they're going to have an issue. And it's always simple. And I think this is one of the things of playoffs, right? Playoff teams, honestly, we've seen you guys a lot of times. We've seen you 4 times mostly, or 3 times at least. We've played maybe full teams and all. We have 3 days to practice and all. We don't have too many things. Like, you know what we're going to do, and we know what you're going to do, and you know what we're going to do. And teams focus on pressure points and something that they can go and find the easiest way to attack you. And I feel Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are going to get attacked all playoffs. Like, I think it's going to be the biggest problem for them. And people might say Mobley and Allen are there, so they're going to protect them. The thing about this current NBA is if your perimeter defense is compromised, like if you have no resistance on the perimeter, like if you can't stop a cone on the perimeter, your big guys are going to suffer. And as a series extends, the series may not even extend. Let's even put it that way. Because no matter how great you guys are on that, no matter how great of shot blockers they are, teams are going to spread them out. Teams are going to put them in rotation. Teams are going to make sure that they're running more miles. They're not going to make you camp in the paint. And if I can dribble drive every time and isolate Darius Garland and isolate Donovan Mitchell and blow Pius there, you're going to create rotations. And this is the thing, right? No matter how great a defensive team you are, maybe except from OKC, right? If your team is being put in rotation, possession after possession after possession, it's unsustainable. Like a team cannot just keep having. You're going to have breakdowns that now become mentally challenging for your team. And I feel this is going to be their biggest issue for them. Like, if Cleveland loses in the first round, I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised.
I would be very surprised if it was in the first round.
Like a shock to everyone, and obviously it's going to be like a very disappointing season. But I feel any team that has if they play the Atlanta Hawks, they're going to have an issue because Trae Young is going to smoke those. They are just going to call for picks, and every single time, like they might lose that series and stuff. And this is an example. A good example is my Bucks, right? We have Brook Lopez. We have Giannis. Some of the best shot blockers ever. We were getting roasted defensively every single year. We compete. The year where we after we lost Drew and stuff like, just look at our defensive rating, right, and how we've suffered and how we've always been in 20th, 18th and stuff. It's because people will be like, oh, your shot blockers can cover. You can't cover up for lack of security on the perimeter. If you have no sort of resistance, you can't cover up for that, no matter how great your bigs are. And I feel that is going to be the biggest issue the Cavs coming through when the playoffs starts. And we're going to see. But I really believe, like, if they meet a team that has one good guard and one wing that is great, like, it's going to be a bloodbath for Garland and Mitchell. Except if they stand up and all of a sudden be great perimeter defenders, which I don't see, because they're going to have a lot of offensive load to carry. And I don't know if they are going to become better defenders right now. So that saying that, I think it's obviously the Cavs have had an A+ season. This has been an A+ season and all. But obviously, these are the issues that I feel that's going to come across. Those two particular issues with Garland and Mitchell on the perimeter as defenders. And yeah, what do you say?
Man, there's a lot to say there. I definitely agree with the grade. The continuity of this team that was like the biggest thing for me, because I knew that they would be good. I didn't, like, whenever you add a new coach, it's like, oh, this coach has a good reputation. They've had good teams, but, always a new situation. You don't really know exactly how the coaches interact with all the players and everything. We can just assume he'll be great. Kenny Atkinson has been great. And like again, like you said last year, Garland had a broken jaw. Evan Mobley was out for an extended period of time. And we had Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen hold it down for them. And now this year, basically healthy this whole time. They started off almost winning 20 games in a row, 35-6. They have been great. All their shooters, just like off their bench, Ty Jerome, George Niang, like you said, Dean Wade, Max Strus, like all these guys have the potential to be great shooters in a series. Yeah. When you said that if they lose in the first round, you wouldn't be surprised. Initially, I was like, no way. But now that I think about it, last playoffs against the Orlando Magic, first time in the playoffs for the Orlando Magic, and they played defense as good as a Rockets and Thunder do. Mm-hmm. They really made Darius Garland struggle. It went to 7. I think it was like blowout after blowout, or just like really low scoring games.
Yeah. Every team won their game at home.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
think.
that's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
And then they played Boston and they lost 4-1 and nobody really thought Boston would lose and obviously Boston won everything. So, that makes sense. But I can definitely see what you mean about the perimeter cuz a Magic team could definitely attack
A
them.
better Magic team, like
A
a
yeah,
better Magic team,
yeah, a better Magic team for
a better
sure.
Paulo Banquero, a better Wagner, a
Yeah.
better Jalen Suggs. Like,
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised this happens. Like, I because if they play the Atlanta Hawks, I think they can lose to Atlanta.
Atlanta, okay. Wait, if they have Dyson Daniels, bro. Oh man, what a guy.
Like,
Yeah, he would definitely do some work on them. I think. Uh, yeah, no, I definitely agree that they can have some struggles in the playoffs because how they have played great, but in a playoff series when a team only has to worry about playing you and they have multiple days in between games, they got time to figure out like schemes and whatnot, every game adjustments. I could see Cleveland potentially struggling in the first round. However, whatever they play the eighth seed. If that eighth seed is the Magic, maybe I could see that. But I'd like to give Cleveland the benefit of the doubt since they've had such a great season. In the second round, however, against the Boston with Derek White, Drew Holiday, against the Knicks with OG Anunoby, even the Bucks. Well, maybe not the Bucks. But Dyson Daniels on the Hawks.
the Bucks.
I mean, who are the Bucks? How are they defending,
Because
bro?
that's the thing, right? Who is going to defend Garland
Yeah.
and Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, exactly. That series would be fun. I would love to see that series. But no, A+ so far. Playoffs are going to be another thing, but for now, we'll give them their flowers. I will say, like you said, fake shooters. I think, to be honest, Cleveland has more fake shooters because all those guys that we mentioned
Really?
I think they can go off. I mean, Strus, like in the playoffs when with the Heat, he did go off, but that's something that you just can't, you just can't hope for that to happen, right?
Yeah.
You can't just. So we'll see. And in the playoffs, I think they'll force an Evan Mobley like, okay, you've improved shot making. His threes, he's shooting at like a 40% clip, like 2 a game, which is it.
I'm letting him shoot 10.
No, I definitely agree. Let him shoot, but just the fact that he can shoot has been impressive, and I'm very impressed with him creating his own shot more and offense. But no, I can definitely see what you mean about them struggling in the playoffs. That's a whole nother beast. But for now, A+ for them.
A+. The reason why I brought that up is I really feel they need to go get. I don't know who is on the market. I think they need to go get a stopper. They need at least one. Because if Max Strus is that guy, sorry. If you're bringing Isaac Okoro, can do that. But again, he's a smaller guard. And again, teams are just going to be like, you have Isaac Okoro on the floor, leave him open 100 times and stuff like that, right? So these are the things like teams are just going to pick on pressure points. And that's the one thing you learn about playoffs is like right now, we don't have too much time. We just need to go to something that we know that is going to give us the best chance and stuff. So Cleveland, awesome season.
Cleveland, if they got Dorian Finney-Smith, which obviously they don't anymore.
We don't have
Cam Johnson. Honestly, I know every team, he's like the main guy, but he would fit. He would help them a lot as their
He's
three.
not that defender though. Why do people
call he's big? He's bigger than most of those guys.
Why do people say every time there's a 6'8" guy that can shoot, all of a sudden he's 3-and-D, and I'm like, I don't think Cam Johnson is that defensive player that you guys are talking about. Like in my eyes, I love Cam Johnson. Like I think for the right team he works. Like for OKC he works because there's a lot of defenders around him. Like that's perfect for him. But if you bring Cam Johnson in and you put the responsibility of having to play defense and stop, Cam Johnson is. I don't consider Cam Johnson a 3-and-D player. Like it's not like because again, Lou Dort is a 3-and-D player. Cam Johnson is not a 3-and-D. Dean Wade is actually a really, really good defender. Really, really good defender. That's a 3-and-D player. Not Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson is a great sniper. He's a great three-point shooter and stuff like that. So, But would I say they should do it? 100%. I would say go for it.
Yeah. I
No.
don't see why not,
Yeah.
especially like with how good you've been playing this season. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, even OKC as well. Like they should go for it, bro. Because as a 3-point shooting team, they're not that
They have fake
great.
shooters.
Yeah, they can
Yeah.
have some fake
They
shooters.
have some
Obviously,
fake
Shea is
shooters.
not shooting at a bunch. Lou Dort, like you said, he has shot it well, but when
He's
it
been
comes
so good.
playoff time, let I'll let Lou Dort shoot in
Shoot.
playoffs, bro.
Yes.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah. It's that kind
That's
of
all
thing.
I'm gonna say
The
about
one
Lou
thing I
Dort.
would say is for Cam Johnson, the Nets are asking for 2 first-round picks. OKC can give them that though.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's why like OKC should just do it because they got stuff. They don't need to
they
worry about 2 first-round picks, man.
yeah.
They
So,
just got Alex Caruso for like Josh Giddey, and Giddey, he has the potential, but come on, like it's nothing to them, bro.
okay. What's your last team?
My last team is one that I really wanted to just bring up, because of the current drama. I wanted to
Oh.
get our perspectives about it and everything.
Yeah.
So far as the season goes, this is a team that, like, to be honest, like I could care less about, because they didn't do anything over the postseason. They didn't do anything over the break. They got their ass whooped in the playoffs without a certain star player that they have who was talking, from home, whatever.
Which I hate.
And yeah, they didn't do anything. They are always in, Bradley Beal. We want Bradley. We want Dame. We want this. We want that. Our name is always there.
Mm-hmm.
You got players like Bam Adebayo, who has struggled offensively this year. Like I don't think it's still like this, but for most of the year, he was one of the worst finishers around the rim, which is just crazy.
Bam has been bad, man. He's been bad. Like
Yeah.
he's been
Eh,
bad. Like I've not really watched a lot of Miami games, but it's just been like I've been checking box scores and seeing what people are saying. Yeah, this has not been a good season for him.
Yeah, it hasn't been good, and that offensive leap for him, I don't know will ever happen
Ever
at this
come.
point. Yeah, you got a guy who you traded for last season, Terry Rozier, who is just up and down, more down than up. He hasn't really fit in with Miami so far. You got a guy like Tyler Hero, who has had a great season. I think he could be potentially an all-star. It's kind of busy in the East there for guards, but he could potentially be an all-star. He's just been creating and scoring and playmaking at the highest rate in his career.
Mm-hmm.
And you would love to have that type of Tyler Hero, when Jimmy Butler was
He's
fighting
good.
for his life in the playoffs. And I think there's a lot to talk about with the Jimmy Butler situation, but the most recent thing, obviously, how he got suspended for a week, and he very clearly demanded for a trade. Pat Riley said, no, like, we're not just going to do it. These are two, like, really not ego driven, but just they're big personality guys
Mm-hmm.
beefing with each other. Before, when it was all good, it was a great harmonious relationship. Now there's been a lot of things said about, their relationship is basically done. It's a guarantee that Jimmy will get traded, but he hasn't yet. His suspension is up. He played in the game the other night, and I didn't watch all the post interview stuff, but everybody asking obviously about Jimmy, about is your position going to change after you play more games, whatever, with the season, and it's just a bunch of no comments. Like he can't really expand on anything because obviously
Yeah.
he wants to get traded. We all know the truth, and I saw Spoelstra before, I believe, the game. He had like interviews, and he was like, I know you guys want to talk about the drama, whatever, but we're here to play a basketball game. The Jimmy Butler situation for the Heat is basically just a cloud over their head that everybody knows about. It's the most like wide public spread. Everybody knows that Jimmy wants to get traded, and when he played, he didn't play good. He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't playing with a lot of effort, in my opinion, even though he like was like, oh no, when I go play, I always put full effort. He wasn't playing with a lot of effort. And now it's to this point where he's back, he's not suspended. This is just gonna, until he gets traded, above the Heat is just Jimmy, trade. Nothing about their games. and they've been solid, in the East, but it's the East. It's not that good.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like this is a team that I had very little expectations for because they didn't do anything. Jimmy didn't start off the season very well, not playing aggressively. Bam didn't play well. Terry Rozier didn't play well. I just don't expect anything from them in terms of playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have this whole situation with Jimmy, and we can talk about like if he's valid in, saying everything, both perspectives and all that. I think he's right and wrong in terms of how he's done this and all that. But overall, for the Heat, at this point, their season is like about like a C minus. Like you got Tyler Hero, which is cool, and their rookie Khalil Ware has had a few more games recently. He played today against Wembanyama. He had more points. He had 25 points.
Ooh,
Um,
I didn't even see that game.
yeah, but I mean, you just got this Jimmy Butler trade situation, and if you don't trade him the rest of the season, like he's not gonna play much better than this. I don't know how much more effort he's gonna put in, and it's just a weird situation for the Heat because his contract is so big, and he clearly stated, "I am not gonna re-sign with you guys. Trade me somewhere." So they
I don't think they want to
basically,
resign him either.
definitely not at this point. They don't want to re-sign
Right?
him.
Like, so this is the thing, right? I agree. I wouldn't have resigned Jimmy either, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like the Heat thing is tired now. It's like, it's crazy though. They made two finals in Jimmy, which I think the Jimmy Butler era has been a success. Like, no one picked the Heat to make those two finals. No one picked the Heat to make those two finals. Only people in Miami County did, right? I feel it's tired. But the one thing question for Jimmy is like, bro, you've done this in every team, and the difference now is you're no longer 26, you're no longer 24, you're no longer 28. You're pretty much 35, right? 35, I believe
Yeah.
Jimmy is. And what team wants to take on this? Like, what team does he think is really going to give him that contract?
Yeah.
Right? We know some team in the NBA is going to convince. We don't know what team is going to be. Someone is going to convince themselves about this, right? Someone is going to convince themselves that they should do this. But before he had some sort of leverage in terms of going away from these teams, burning bridges and stuff like that because he was younger. But now you're 35. The money that you think you want, I don't think any team would give you. Maybe you get a 2+1, maybe. But I also don't see any reason why Miami would have resigned him, except if Miami had some big plan of, we're gonna get this star, take less kind of deal, kind of stuff. Okay, yeah. But yeah, the Miami thing is just tired, man. I've not even seen Eric Spoelstra speak. That was one thing I actually should have looked. I've not seen him speak on this situation because he doesn't seem like a guy that is want to speak on this situation. Because again, I don't care who you are. You might be Michael Jordan. The problem is in Miami County, there's one man that reigns above all, and that is Pat Riley. And people think that, a lot of people are like, Pat Riley thinks he's so big. He is that so big in that franchise. Like, he is that franchise. He is that big. He has that much power and stuff like that. So there's no winning that battle with him. Like, as much as Jimmy is strong-willed, Jimmy was in certain franchises that didn't have that character of personality. And when Pat Riley said the stuff in the offseason where pretty much he should shut up and stop talking, I agreed with that. Maybe it's like the reason why I agreed with that is this: if you're not on the court, don't make it harder for your teammates because you can't come back yourself up. Like, we are going to receive hits from the Celtics on stuff you are saying, and you can't be there to help us.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense. Like, never. Like, it's the reason why when I see bench players or reserves speaking anyhow to stars on opposite, I'm like, bro, you're not even going to be on the court to answer to this. Someone else is on the court is going to have to respond to their vitriol for you, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with Pat Riley, and I didn't see any reason why they needed to resign Jimmy except if it was on a 1+1 or something like that. And he's 35. I don't know how he thinks this goes well for him. Maybe he knows something we don't know. Maybe his agent knows something we don't know. But honestly, I would love him in Denver. But I think you have Russ there now. and Russ is doing really well. So I don't know if Denver are probably likely to do that again, because it's going to be almost the same type of play they're going to have. Russ and Demi, not like they're same players, but in terms of the pick and roll, the cutting, those type of is going to be that. So you need a bit of shooting, and I don't think it makes sense to lose Michael Porter Jr. and stuff like that. So yeah, like I completely agree. A C minus. The Heat thing is just that it's one of those teams where it's just like, here they go again. It's like there's no excitement. There's not like what we're looking forward to. Like there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like hey, it's the Miami Heat again and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely agree on that. I agree on this. Is this C minus you gave them?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a C minus.
Yeah.
It could be an F if they keep Jimmy for the rest of the season, because then it's like, he's gonna leave. I don't know who's giving him this contract. These older players, Paul George got lucky, bro. But these older players,
Some franchise. I keep telling people.
yeah.
I keep sorry to go that, but I keep telling people Daryl Morey is overrated. Daryl Morey is the most overrated GM in the freaking league, and people need to understand this. He makes all these signings that just like, bro, do you even think if he's not signing Eric Gordon back or all the Houston Rockets players back on his team, he doesn't know what to do with cap room. Like, you gave 200 and something million to Paul George. This dude is the most overrated. He's literally a Harden. What's the word? He didn't draft Harden. He got Harden to the Rockets, right? So
Yeah.
he's like, he's this whole career where he's a Harden merchant. Let me put it that way. Daryl Morey is not that good. He's not that good, and I don't know. I know in the basketball world, a lot of these guys they think he's a genius and everything. I'm like, nah, like this guy is not that. But yeah, you're saying.
Yeah, no, like he's just old, and he hasn't shown it this season in terms like we had this whole playoff Jimmy thing, and it was real. He was amazing in the two runs. But then in the regular season, he was just regular Jimmy, which is not that great. And now regular Jimmy, he's not even that at this point, especially this season. So he's not really making himself like super enticing to any other teams. The only team that can make that trade is the Suns, bro. They have Bradley Beal's money, and it's the only one that matches up with the $50 million Jimmy is making right now. I don't know. I also heard that maybe he thinks the Suns will give him like 2 years, 100 million type of contract. Other than like the Suns, which is our whole thing money wise, these older players who are hoping to get their last contract, I think Paul George might have been the last of them that gets like 50 million a year.
He's lucky. Oh
He's lucky because we're not like we're waking up, but we're seeing the full ramifications of the second apron and how tight that is. Like, you cannot have so many max contracts. Just like money matters a lot, and you cannot give in good faith Jimmy Butler a 4-year contract, 3-year contract. I think 3-year would be fine, but like 50 million is too much for Jimmy Butler. If he goes out on the market, he stays on the Heat. He says he's not going to re-sign. If he goes out on the market, I think he would have a market, but I don't think he has any leverage in terms of how much money he wants. If he goes in the free agency, he's not making 50 million. I don't think he's making 40 million. I think he could maybe make 30 million in like the last year of a 3-year contract.
A 3-year
like maybe
contract, yeah.
25, 27, 30, something like that. But he's just a bit too old to be giving that much guaranteed money with how much tax and like all the second apron in like how much it affects your team and what you can do and your flexibility and everything. And he just hasn't been playing like a $40 million contract, player.
If you're a team that needs to get regular season wins and he does all this whole Jimmy Butler playoff thing, I don't really try hard in the regular season. What's the point? And as you said, it's just like, man, I can't just pay that money. I can't wait till your 38th season to pay that money and stuff. But the one thing about the NBA that never surprises me, you are going to find a team that convinced themselves to do this. Someone is going to convince themselves internally to make this bad decision. Just watch me. And if we don't see this happen, we'll be grateful that people are actually learning, because I really believe that this Paul George contract is going to be looked at I'm like, oh my goodness, we should never, ever, ever do this again. But yeah, as I say, people convince themselves of a lot of these things a lot of times. Like someone traded for Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
If someone can trade for Ben Simmons, anything can happen in this league.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think some team will convince themselves that Jimmy Butler can help us as like a veteran, maybe type of player, as like a connector on defense, as a
Yeah.
potential shot creator, but like not as the first option. I don't even know what team that could be. Denver isn't interesting, but they have Jamal and MPJ's contract and Jokic and Aaron Gordon. I don't think they can make that work money wise. They're already pretty tight. Like I said, I think the Suns are the only team realistically that could make a trade for him before whenever the deadline is in February. I don't think anybody else is touching that with a 10-foot pole
Oh.
because they know unless they can really like scam the Heat, but the Heat have made it like the Heat, they're stubborn too. Pat Riley is as stubborn as Jimmy Butler can be. He'll hold out.
I
He'll
feel in some sort of world, Pat Riley wants to keep him in this freaking place the whole season, and like he feels. Pat Riley gives me like vengeful vibes. Like this dude is a vengeful
Oh
man.
yeah. Oh yeah. I can definitely see that. And I think that quote that was so funny, that Pat Riley, it has like the graphic and everything, and maybe I'm washed. That's how I feel. No, if you're talking about Daryl Morey, I think Pat Riley is a pretty overrated GM.
Oh,
And I mean, he's
I
like
do
president and all that. I think he's been pretty overrated the past few years,
Mm-hmm.
especially because there was literally that report. I don't know if it was last. I think it was last trade deadline when there was a report that like he was like falling asleep near the trade deadline. Do you remember that? Or
Oh, was it him?
I'm pretty sure that was him.
Let me-
Like falling asleep
let me
near the
see.
trade deadline. I don't know how true that is, but that's just hilarious. And yeah, if I think he's a bit of an overrated, just because the Heat we're always in these, we're gonna get Bradley Beal, we're gonna get Dame, we're gonna get this star player because
They
these
never
guys want to
get-
go to Miami
they-
because they don't want to pay taxes because it's warm. We got Miami is a nice place, I'm sure, as
To
an
be
NBA
fair-
player
to be
making
fair-
millions.
To be fair to him, we need to respect our seniors, our
Our
elders.
seniors.
He's
Yeah,
77 years old. Of course he was sleeping.
Damn.
It's actually yeah. Apparently he was sleeping during one of the deadline days or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, man, that's a 77-year-old man, bro.
Yeah, literally. And like he has the reputation, of course, but just like recently, the past few years, I think like maybe he can, come back from this if he does trade Jimmy and somehow gets a decent deal out of it. I don't know how he handles Jimmy. I think will like solidify my full opinion of him as a GM because this is his hardest decision, to make in the past few years. Like obviously bringing Jimmy in was a great choice, and like Jimmy is right in that like I would be frustrated too if every single year we have Dame as one of our top guys, we have Bradley Beal as one of our top guys, we have these other players, and they don't want to trade Tyler Hero, they don't want to trade Jaime Jaquez because we want to hold
They
this.
didn't want to trade Duncan Robinson.
Duncan Robinson.
Come
yeah,
on.
we don't want to trade these players, but you see Jimmy Butler fighting for his life in the bubble. We see him do the improbable and bring the Heat to the finals again, beating the Celtics and facing off against the Nuggets. Like, in the playoffs, he did show that he can carry this team. He just needed somebody else. And if Tyler Hero played this season like he did before, I mean, that would have been great, but he didn't. And I would be frustrated too.
A lot of times when a player doesn't win, we'll be like, oh, this player cannot win with the first option. I think Jimmy, despite losing, showed that he could win being the first option. Like he could win being the first option if the team was just up to par, but it wasn't. Yeah. I completely agree on everything you said. Like, yeah, we're going to see what happens. Like, I really feel they're not going to pay him, and if there's no sensible trade for Miami, they may just let him go for like I don't. Honestly, every time players win, almost every single time, players get what they want. They get the trade they want. Where he goes is the question, right? We're going to see what team he goes. But yeah, I would say, what games are you looking forward to this NBA slate coming? But this week
This
is pretty
week.
dire. This week is pretty dire, not because they're not good games, but I think, for example, the Mavs played Celtics on Saturday, were injured. The Mavs played the Timberwolves, were injured. Um, we have the Celtics and Warriors tomorrow, which is always a fun game. Like I love watching the Celtics. They beat
Oh
them
yeah.
the last time too. I love it's almost like the Warriors are in their head. Like
Mm.
it's like this itch they need to scratch and they
These
never
are
get
some
to.
early games as well. Like they got 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 12:30, 1 p.m., 1:30,
10
3 p.m.,
a.m.
6
When
p.m.
oh okay, your time. You're two
Yeah, my
hours ahead.
time. I
Yeah.
think I know the college football final game is tomorrow
Oh.
at 5:30, so I'm assuming that's why they're that early. But I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
We had NFL games today and they didn't care about
They
that.
didn't care about that. Yeah,
Um,
the Celtics Warriors is 5 p.m. tomorrow. That's an early game.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, in terms of games, I'm like it's hard to pick some that like I know hope will stand out. I'm more so like looking for teams, like you mentioned I think you mentioned Wolves and Mavs
Mm-hmm.
on Wednesday. That'll be a fun game. Basically, also Pistons and Hawks on Wednesday. That could be fun too.
That could be fun.
I'm interested in the Hawks, the Pistons, the Suns, the Wolves, all of these teams that are basically 20 and 20, 21, 21, like these 500 level teams. Are they gonna like break out of that anytime soon? Are they gonna really like? Because the Hawks, for example, they're six in the East. The East is the East is how it is.
Can I say
They're
something about the Hawks?
yeah
They know how to play Boston. I don't know how to explain
yeah
it. I
they
don't
beat Boston twice.
on before 2 seasons ago when Boston would lose to Miami, I believe, 2 seasons back, right? They played the Hawks, and I think Boston were leading 2-0. And before you know it, that series ended in six. But you watch the games, it's not smooth for some reason. The Hawks know how to play the Celtics, which I don't understand. Like it's like there's not really something I'm seeing that I can like pinpoint and be like, this is the reason why they are. But when you watch it, it's complicated for Boston. Like they actually struggle against the Hawks. Like the Hawks beat them yesterday. Like beat them, and I felt the Hawks deserved to win yesterday. And the Hawks has beaten them in the Garden, I think, twice this year, right? One for the in-season tournament, and I think now for this, right?
They've beaten them twice. I know the first. I want to say for the first win, I saw a tweet yesterday that in that win that the Hawks beat the Celtics, when they didn't have Trae Young, the betting odds for the Celtics were like 18 and a half or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
And the Hawks, when they won, I saw the tweet said that that was the fourth biggest upset in NBA history in terms of like betting odds for a team. And that was just such a crazy win. I know Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels played great, and we can also talk about the Celtics. I mean, they've just been a bit very
Shaky.
like up
Shaky.
and down, shaking, like win loss, lose to Sacramento. They lost to Toronto. They lost to Toronto on my birthday. I couldn't believe it. What a game. They've just been shooting really poorly. Like I don't know the exact stats, but I believe I saw a TikTok or something that said like uh Drew Holiday shooting around 30%, Tatum shooting 33, Derek White shooting 28 from 3, Jaylen Brown shooting 22% from 3 in like the past month or something like that. Boston themselves has been that they've just been win loss. It hasn't been smooth sailing for them, and I think ultimately they'll be fine. I think
Yeah,
if there's
I think
any
they'll
a
be fine.
time to have a losing stretch, a shaky stretch like this, do it in January. Do it
Doing in
December, January.
January.
Who cares? Like in March, April, I'm not worried.
After
They'll figure it out. But it is
they'll figure it
interesting.
out. But again, the Clippers just beat the Lakers. The
Yeah,
Clippers just beat the
I
Lakers.
yeah. I
Kawhi is back in the lineup.
Kawhi is back, right?
There's
Yes, he
three
played
players had 20 points.
19. Kawhi was
Powell,
1 point off.
Powell,
I
Harden had
love
20 points.
Norm.
Man,
Yeah,
okay. Man, it's
and
interesting,
the
man.
Clippers play good defense.
It's going to be we
Yeah.
see like sometimes the week happens and a lot of fun stuff happens. So we'll come back here next week. Elias, we are going to brand everything back and welcome everyone. It's obviously people know us already and know that we do our podcast, but now we have a band and we're glad for anyone who is listening to us. And please subscribe, please like, follow us on social media. We're going to post
Pushing
all
the
that.
Pace podcast.
Pushing the Pace podcast. And we're excited to be, and this is going to be fun. And it's going to be a fun year. And really, really excited to just see how much basketball we talk about and the season goes around and stuff like that. And yeah, please, Elias, Elias. I'm going to struggle doing it, but I'm gonna. Before I come to every podcast, I'm gonna repeat in the mirror 10 times, so I don't forget. Okay. Well, anything you have to say?
No, I mean, to be honest, I think this has been our best episode yet. I
Yeah.
mean, we've talked for almost an hour and a half. I think we've hit a
Yeah.
lot of great teams and a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm just excited to keep pushing the pace this season
Pushing the pace.
and making strides and getting views and getting people to watch and interact and everything. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
we want to build a
shout
great
out to us.
shout out to us. We want to build a great community and stuff. As the weeks go by, we're going to find guests to bring on. Maybe one of our friends, someone you know, someone I know, someone from the group chat, someone. We're going to find guests and all, and we're going to soon start about draft too, which should be really excited. Which should be really exciting
Yeah.
once the All-Star breaks All-Star break stats and all, and just to make it fun and stuff. And yeah, we want to keep on being consistent, and that's what we're gonna do. But anyway, Elias have a great night. We are the Pushing the Pace podcast, and we will see you guys another time. Peace.
Peace.